Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. So we're going to move on. OJ, I gotta get this other one off my screen. Oh wait, we're in February still. February 2nd. And we got about 20 minutes or so left of this video, and then we have one more and we're done with February 2nd. And we move on to the next day. Probably his mama. He's been called out a couple times in court too. But mostly OJ. OJ. I gotta get some tequila sunrises. So we are going to, when we get to the glove and we see it here, we're going to do an event. We're going to replay that, what we see here the next day. Maybe a live event. OJ with OJ, the famous glove. We're just going to play that portion in a special live stream the next day. That was Linus's idea, and it was brilliant, and I loved it. All right, let's get moving.
Stephanie Martin?
Yeah.
Call from 325 Gretna Green?
Yes.
Who received the first call?
There was another operator who was sitting on the console 40, which was right next to me.
Okay. And who was that person?
That was PSR Stephanie Martin.
Stephanie Martin?
Yes.
Okay. And what time did Stephanie Martin receive the first 911 call?
She received it at 21:44 hours military time, which is 9:44 p.m.
Okay. And did she complete the incident report?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Did she indicate the name of the caller?
Yes.
And what's the name?
Nicole Simpson.
Okay. And did she indicate the address from which the call originated?
Yes.
And what address was that?
325 South Gretna Greenway.
And did she indicate anything in the comments area regarding the nature of the call?
Yes, it shows indicated a suspect description in the nature of the trouble.
Okay. What does it say exactly in the comments area? Would the court like to take a look at the report? It is a rather unique sort of document, and actually it takes a qualified person like...
That's true. Well,
I'm not objecting.
I think we've seen a foundation for the first part at this point, haven't we?
Yes.
All right, why don't you proceed?
When was the second call received?
Approximately 21:54 hours.
Okay, so the first one was received at 21:44?
Yes.
That's 9:44 p.m.?
Yes.
And the second call was received at 9:54 p.m.?
Yes.
And which 911 operator received that second call?
I did.
Did the caller identify herself?
Yes, she did.
And did you have a conversation with that caller?
Yes.
Are 911 calls recorded?
Yes.
And was that call recorded?
Yes.
How many telephone calls from Nicole Brown Simpson did you receive that night?
One.
And how long did that call last?
If I remember correctly, it was approximately 14 or 15 minutes.
Now, the events described on that incident log occurred on October 25, 1993. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you since had an occasion to listen to a recording of your conversation with Nicole Brown Simpson back on October 25, 1993?
Yes.
And you listened to that tape upstairs in my offices, is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, we have such a tape. It has been marked Peoples 21 for identification. May we play it for the jury?
All right, let me just ask this. Ms. Clark, do you have any timing problems at this point? Okay, play the tape.
Emergency. Yeah, can you send someone to my house? What's the problem there?
Well, my ex-husband or my husband just broke into my house, and he's ranting and raving. Now, he's just walked out in the front yard.
Has he been drinking or anything?
No, but he's crazy.
Is he black, white, or Hispanic?
Black.
What's he wearing right now?
Black pants and a golf shirt.
What color shirt?
I think it's black and white.
And you said he hasn't been drinking?
No.
Did he hit you?
No.
Did you have a restraining order against him?
No.
What's your name?
Nicole Simpson,
Your address?
325 Gretna Green Way.
Is it a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Okay, what's the police out?
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone still in a domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Green Way, monitor comments, code mention at 4221 or 825.
You hear that man's voice in the background, like the automated voice? That's exactly what he sounds like. He sounds like him.
911 emergency,
Can you get
588.
someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please.
Well, okay, what does he look like?
He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here?
Okay, what is he doing there?
He just drove up again.
He just drove
somebody
up.
over?
Okay, wait a minute, what kind of car is he in?
He's in a white Bronco, but first of all, he broke the back door down to get in.
Okay, wait a minute, what's your name?
Nicole Simpson.
Okay, is he the sportscaster or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, and what is
Thank you.
Wait a minute, we're sending the police. What is he doing? Is he threatening you?
He's fucking going nuts.
Okay, has he threatened you in any way, or is he just harassing you?
You're going to hear him in a minute. He's about to get in again.
Okay, just stay on the line.
I don't want to stay on the line.
Just stay on the line so we can know what's going on until the police get there, okay? Okay, Nicole?
Uh-huh.
Just a moment. Does he have any weapons?
I don't know.
Okay.
He went home and now he's back. My
Okay.
kids are upstairs sleeping and I don't want anything to happen.
Okay, just a moment. Is he on drugs or anything?
No.
Okay. Just stay on the line, just in case he comes in. I need to hear what's going on, all right?
Can you hear him outside?
Is he yelling?
Yep.
Okay. Has he been drinking?
No.
Okay. One fellow unit, additional domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Greenway. The suspect has returned in a white Bronco. Monitor comments, incident 48221. Okay, Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
Is he still outdoors or
He's in the backyard,
he's in the backyard?
screaming at my roommate about me and at me here.
Okay. Okay, what is he saying?
Oh, something about some guy I know and hookers and keys and I started this shit before and it's all my fault. And now what am I going to do? Get the police in on this and the whole thing.
Okay.
It's all my fault. I started this before. I don't know. Brother. Oh my kids exposed.
Okay. Has he hit you today or no?
No.
Okay, you don't need any paramedics or anything? Okay, you just want him to
Broke
leave.
my door. He broke the whole back door in.
And then he left and he came back?
Then he came and he practically knocked my upstairs door down, but he pounded it, and then he screamed and hollered, and I tried to get him out of the bedroom because the kids were sleeping in there.
Okay.
And then he wanted somebody's phone number, and I gave him my phone book and put my phone book down to write to write down the phone number that he wanted, and then he took my phone book with all my stuff in it.
Okay, so basically you guys have just been arguing. Is he inside right now?
Yeah.
Okay, just a moment. Is he talking to you?
Yeah.
Are you locked in a room or something?
No, he can come right in. I'm not going where the kids are because the kids are...
You think he's going to hit you?
I don't know what he's...
Okay. Stay on the line. Don't hang it up, okay?
Partial for traffic, Holland, North Santa Monica. Anyone wants to weigh in to handle code to the South Los Angeles, and
14. What is he saying?
What?
What is he saying?
What else?
61, give me an open track for Cole. Give me a track frequency for this possible DPA zone.
All units of domestic violence at 30 Country 325 South Griffin Greenway is too high. The suspect is now entered a vicinity of confusing the lead. It's code too high. It's been 4221 ID 825. Children involved. He's still yelling at you? Just stay on the line, okay? 8070 and 81, 8070 and 81, domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Greenway, 325 South Gretna Greenway, 8070 and 81, code 2 high, for 4221, RD 825. Is he upset with something that you did?
Oh, a long time ago, it always comes back.
From our caller,
Is your roommate talking to him?
No, I could talk. Listen to him.
I know. Does he have any weapons or anything with him right now? No? Okay. Where is he standing?
In the back doorway. In the house.
Okay.
Could you just please, OJ, could you please leave? Please leave. Okay, please, the kids. The kids are right at the company, please.
Is he leaving?
No.
Does he know you're on the phone with the police?
No.
Okay. Where are the kids at right now?
Up in my room.
Can they hear him yelling?
I don't know. Sleeping. The room's the only one that's quiet.
Is there someone up there with the kids?
No.
down. Nicole?
Oh,
You still on the line?
yeah.
You think he's still going to hit you?
I don't know. He's gonna leave. He just said that. He just said he ain't leaving.
They're on the way.
Are you the only one in there with him?
Right now, yeah.
And he's talking to you?
And he's also talking to the guy that lives out back is just standing there.
Oh, okay.
He just came home.
Oh, okay. Is he arguing with him too?
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nobody's arguing.
Yeah. Has this happened before or no?
He done.
Okay. The police should be on the way. This seems like a long time because it's kind of busy in that division right now. 85 regarding Gretna Greenway. The suspect is still there and yelling very loudly.
85
And it goes back if you saw Gretna Green. Is he still arguing? Oh. Was someone knocking on your door?
No, that was him.
Oh, he was knocking on the door?
There's a locked bedroom, and he's wondering why.
Oh, okay. He's knocking on a locked door?
Yeah. You know what? Okay, that window above you is also open. Could you just go, please? Can I get off my phone?
You feel safe hanging up?
Well, you're right.
You want to wait till the police get there?
Yeah.
Nicole, is he still arguing with you? He's moved a little bit.
Just ignoring him.
Okay. But he doesn't know you're on.
Works best.
Okay. Are the kids still asleep?
Yeah, when they're like rock.
What part of the house is he in right now?
Downstairs?
Downstairs? And you're upstairs?
No, I'm downstairs in the kitchen. He's in the thing. Now he's walking around. Now the kitchen.
Do you see the police, Nicole?
No, but I will go out there right now.
Okay, you want to go out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang up.
Okay.
Darn, I believe that's the end of the tape.
You hear the police arriving in the tape?
Yes, I had the radio frequency on.
And the record reflects that Mr. Fairwell began the tape counter at 0 and is now at 181.
181.
During the conversation you had with Ms. Brown, did you ask her if this event or events like this had happened on other cases?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said yes.
Tape, please, Ritson. Jack, it's your say.
Overruled.
Now, when the first call was received, was it given some type of priority in terms of how urgent the call was being considered by the 911 operator?
Yes.
And what priority code was it given at 9:44 p.m.?
It was given a code 2 priority, which is urgent but not life-threatening.
And was that priority code upgraded at some point?
Yes,
And who upgraded the priority of that call?
I did.
Okay. And what did you upgrade it to?
I upgraded it to code 2 high, which is now potentially life-threatening.
And why did you do that?
She stated that he was not there, but he had returned, and she felt that she was in imminent danger. And so I made it life-threatening.
And did you have training?
Questions for Ms. Moore?
Just briefly, Ms. Moore. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And with regard to the tape we just heard, you listened to that tape on occasions before this afternoon, have you now?
Yes.
And prior to the day, when was the last time you listened to that tape?
Approximately 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And was that in Mr. Darden's office?
Yes.
Okay. And you, of course, listened to the tape that night, the night of October of 1993, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you made this determination of this call, and you continued to monitor it and talk to Miss Nicole Simpson, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were able to ascertain during the course of that tape that at some point when she first started talking to you, she was upstairs particularly in a bedroom or something like that? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Did you ascertain that at some point she left that room and came downstairs into the kitchen for her conversation?
Yes, maybe at the end when I asked her where was she.
And you were able to determine, were you not, that during this entire tape and during the entire episode, she was never struck by the gentleman who was in the background, is that right?
Yes.
And that at or about the time or shortly after the time that she came downstairs, were you aware that police arrived at the location?
Yes.
All right. And at one point during the tape, did she indicate that she wanted to get off the line, that she felt that she wanted to hang up the phone, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was prior to the arrival of the police?
Yes.
And during the course of the tape, the onset of the tape, you could hear the person in the background, and she told you that person was talking to her roommate or a male who lived in the back house, is that correct?
Yes.
So as you sat there listening, you basically heard the same things we heard and just carried on this conversation, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And at the time that the conversation ended, at that time you felt or you had information that the police had arrived, is that correct?
Yes.
You felt the situation was in hand at that point, is that correct?
Yes.
You'd never talked to Miss Nicole Brown Simpson before that time, had you?
No.
That was the first and only time?
Yes.
Thank you very kindly. I have nothing further.
Any redirect, Mr. Darden?
That's what makes America different from being invaded compared to other countries that can get invaded. If we get invaded, everybody has guns. So once they get in, it's going to be really hard.
All right, Ms. Moore, thank you very much for coming in. You're excused now. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except for the lawyers on the case. All right, thank you very much. Next witness. Yes, I just did. Sure.
Oh my gosh, a sidebar. Imagine that. At least that machine isn't on for the first time. It's a nice quiet sidebar, except I'm blabbering. Wow, it's a long sidebar too.
Thank you, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon at this time, and we will resume again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, have any contact with anybody, or allow yourself to be influenced or contacted by anybody on the outside. Have a pleasant evening. Enjoy the movies, and we'll see you. Enjoy the movies, and the Flintstones wouldn't have been my pick, but okay. All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Chris, can you
We made it to February 3rd. Now I'm picturing Nan with a mixer with cake batter dripping off. Metal. Sorry.
2 seconds. All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey. People represented by Ms. Clark, Mr. Darden, and Mr. Gordon. The jury is not present. Mr. Cochran, you had a comment to make?
Yes, Your Honor. I have 3 quick matters, if I might. Yesterday, at the end of the day, when we were leaving, Your Honor, I was advised that when Mr. Ron Shipp left the witness stand, finally, he walked through the gates there, and he made what has been called a power sign toward the Brown family. This was seen by people in the back row. And the jury was apparently still here. And given that eventuality and the fact that we're told by independent people that that took place, the court needs again perhaps to inquire or check with your staff or check with the photographers in the back row. And I think you can verify that. Those kind of over displays by this witness, I think, have no place. And again, I think it would require an admonishment of the jury because it's just thoroughly improper. That's item number 1. The second item has to do with a discovery issue. I had a conversation with a man named Scott Kennedy, Your Honor, on Wednesday evening. Mr. Kennedy is a man who says that, who took a video of the ending of the recital on June 12, 1994. A video that includes Mr. O.J. Simpson with one of his children, his greeting the Brown family, has the Brown family on it. And apparently the indication is that none of these parties knew they were being videoed. The concern that I have regarding Mr. Scott Kennedy is that he indicated to me, he sent this video to Ms. Marsha Clark, he said specifically last summer. And in our, at least my review of the discovery, we have never, ever received that. This video has now been shown, and we expect, of course, to have our copy shortly. But if the prosecution had that, we were entitled to that some time ago. And Mr. Kennedy said that he did, in fact, send it specifically to Ms. Marsha Clark, and was no follow-up on it. The third thing has to do with a witness by the name of Leif Tilden, Leiftilden. Mr. Leif Tilden is a witness that has been, in fact, interviewed by the prosecution. He's a witness who says that he saw 4 men in the area of the Bundy Street address near Dorothy on the night of June 12th, 1994, as I understand it, 4 Caucasian men, or not African-American men, between the time of 10 and 10:30. He also indicated he has, in fact, been interviewed by the prosecution. We received no information about this man at all, no reports or whatever. As the court has pointed out to me, discovery is reciprocal. These are, I stand here understanding that, and I want to bring this to the court's attention for each of the...
We have already heard all this before. Why do we keep doing this? Why?
The last 2 matters, and also the ship matter, I'd like the court to conduct some investigation, because we should not be prejudiced because a witness like Ship is overzealous. On these other 2 things, we would like to have an understanding if the prosecution has the Kennedy tape, and we'd like to have the reports, if they're available, on Mr. Leif Tilden. We think he will be a very important witness, especially in view of the fact that the prosecution knew that they had another witness who talked about 4 men and around that area at between 10 and 10:30 on June 12th. Certainly would be misleading to the jury to have Ms. Clark's opening statement, a reopening statement, on Monday. So I want to put those things on the record, if I might.
Mr. Darden? Good morning.
It's correct that members of the DA's office have interviewed the gentleman Mr. Cochran just referred to. We did that roughly 24 hours ago. Just this morning before coming down here, I signed off approving the release of the tape of that interview to Mr. Cochran. And so we're aware of that person. We're aware of our duties under the rules of discovery, and we are complying, and they will be receiving written notification moment. And I should indicate as well that this isn't someone that we've known about for several weeks or several months. He came forward after he heard Mr. Cochran's opening statement and his reference to Ms. Gerchis. And I believe he'll testify that he saw 4 young men in the area that night, but that they appeared to be college students. None of them wore knit caps. In fact, not all of them wore caps at all. And the caps that were worn were baseball caps. And so I don't know how relevant his testimony will be if he's called as a witness, but we will certainly provide counsel with that discovery.
All right. That appears to be within the court's order, which was to give notice within 1 business day, unless there's some other reason. Okay. How about the Scott Kennedy video?
I'm not aware of that video, and Mr. Fairtlow is here, and he handles most of the discovery. If we have such a video, we'll turn it over. I don't think we do, but someone upstairs, I'm sure, is checking right now. And if we have it, we will give it to Mr.
All right. I'd like to know when we come back at 1:30. And if you recall, I've asked both sides to submit to the court an inventory by today, and the record should reflect I have received the defense inventory this morning from Mr. Douglas, and I will, so that I'll know what everybody has from this point on.
Okay, your senior DA investigator, Mike Armstrong, is working on that right now. It'll be here by 3 o'clock.
All right. All right, and as to the gestures by Mr. Shipp, any comment by that?
I saw no such gesture, but I don't think any such gesture by Mr. Shipp is any more inappropriate than what happened here yesterday. I believe it was yesterday when the court was introduced to Mr. Douglas's wife, Mrs. Douglas, and after that introduction, and I have no problem with that, she walked over to the defendant, she shook his hand, she conversed with him, right here in front of the jury. Right here in front of the jury. I thought that was highly inappropriate, but I didn't bring it to the court's attention. I don't see any need to get or to complain about every little thing that happens in the courtroom, but I didn't see it, and so I can't address. Yeah. In addition, when Detective Farrell left the witness stand the other day, as he passed by, the defendant said to him, "Thanks for telling the truth," or words to that effect, within earshot of the jury. Okay, so if Mr. Shipp perhaps violated the court's rule in some minor way, he is not the only one, and I don't think the court should draw attention, the jury's attention to whatever occurred yesterday. And Mr. Cochran didn't see it. We don't know that it happened. Maybe it did. Maybe it did.
So I think I'm going to have to become Argus. I have to stay here the whole time.
Well,
I'll need instant replay.
Yeah, hopefully that won't be necessary, Your Honor. I think the witnesses, most witnesses, I think will comply, conduct themselves appropriately. We don't have this problem every day. But this particular witness has shown a proclivity or propensity for doing this. You'd already warned him several times, and you'd already cautioned the jurors regarding him. And then what I'm asking the court to do, since I was advised of this, is to query people who actually saw it, because it would be a flagrant violation. That's far different than Miss Linda Jackson Douglas, who did not shake Mr. Simpson's hands at all, being introduced at a time in an appropriate manner. That's far different. The people always seem to confuse, Your Honor, that whenever there's something that happens, they want to throw something and say, well, so-and-so did that. That's not the question. As Ms. Clark herself said at one point, two wrongs, even if there was a wrong, wouldn't make a right. We have to deal with the conduct. The last thing I want to say, and I appreciate Mr. Darden being forthcoming about the tape, they didn't tell me about it. I'm the one who brought it up, and I'm glad we're going to get that. But that videotape was from last summer. This man took the videotape and got it in July. So was your response, we should know something by the end of the day on that? Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Like it was in July.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jurors, please. Ladies and gentlemen, it was brought to my attention that yesterday afternoon when Mr. Shipp was leaving the courtroom, he may have made a gesture to somebody in the audience that you may have observed. You were to disregard any conduct like that here in the courtroom. All right, Mr. Darden, would you call your next witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Your Honor, the people would like to call Sergeant Lerner to the stand.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give will be passed on to you for this court. Should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please be seated and state and spell your first and last name to the record.
My name is Robert Lerner, R-O-B-E-R-T, L-E-R-N-E-R.
Thank you.
Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir, on October 25, 1993, were you a police officer?
Yes, sir.
Were you a member of the LAPD?
That's correct.
And on that date, around 10 p.m., did you respond to a 911 call for help?
Not for help, but I did respond to a 911 call.
And did you respond to 325 South Gretna Green,
Yes, sir.
the home of Nicole Brown?
Yes.
Why did you go to that location?
The 911 call stated it was a domestic dispute. It was marked code 2 high, which is in an urgent call.
Were you in uniform?
Yes, sir.
Were you in a black and white police vehicle?
Yes, I was working a two-man basic car in West Los Angeles area with my partner, Spencer Marks.
Okay. And did you and Officer Marks proceed immediately to that location?
Yes, we did.
And when you arrived at 325 South Gretna Green, Nicole Brown's home, did you see a vehicle?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle?
It was a Ford Bronco, white in color.
And where was that Ford Bronco when you arrived at Nicole Brown's home?
The vehicle was parked southbound in the street in front of the location.
Was the vehicle parked at the curb?
No, it wasn't.
How far from the curb, if you recall, was it parked?
Approximate between 4 and 6 feet.
Okay. Or was it parked or was it stopped in the street?
Apparently it was stopped in the street. The ignition was off, but the headlights were on.
Did you see anyone inside the Bronco at that time?
No, sir.
Is there a driveway in front of the residence at 325 South Gretna Green?
I don't recall.
Okay, but the vehicle was in the street.
Yes, sir.
I take it you got out of your police vehicle?
Yes.
And did you meet someone at that time?
Yes, sir. In front of the location, 325 South Gretna Green, we met Nicole Brown.
And could you describe for us the Nicole Brown's demeanor?
Well, she was visibly shaken. She was upset.
I got sucked in.
She was concerned, and she was scared.
Did you notice any signs of any physical injuries on
No.
her face or on her neck at that time?
No, sir.
Did you have a discussion with her?
Yes.
Now, when you met Nicole Brown in front of the house, was there anyone else with her?
No.
What did you do after you first saw Nicole Brown?
We wanted to make a determination if the individual mentioned in the comments of the call as the individual to whom we were responding was still at the location. She said yes, he was. That his name was O.J. Simpson. He was in the.
Sustained.
I'll ask another question, Your Honor. After you spoke to Nicole Brown, what did you do?
We made a follow-up to the rear house, the guest house.
And did you have to walk from the front of the house to the back?
Yes, sir.
Did you go through the house, or did you walk around to the side of the house?
We walked through the house.
Okay. And did you exit into the rear yard of the house?
Yes.
Now, is there a rear door to the house?
There is. It's a double French door.
And did you take a look at that door as you passed through it?
Yes, sir.
And what, if anything, did you notice about the condition of that door?
The door had been split near the top and bottom of the door that has the two deadbolts that go into the floor and into the ceiling.
And did you see someone at the rear of the house that night? Someone that you now see here in court today?
Yes, sir.
Point to that person.
The defendant, Mr. Simpson.
Indicating Mr. Simpson.
You saw the defendant in the rear or at the rear of Nicole Brown's house that night?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes.
Did he speak to you?
Yes, he did.
Was there someone else present at that time?
Yes, there was.
Who else was present?
An individual I learned later was Cato Kalin.
Cato Kalin was present.
Yes, sir.
Describe for us, if you will, the defendant's demeanor when you saw him in the rear yard.
The defendant was agitated. He was upset, pacing back and forth, and he was speaking loudly to Mr. Kalin.
Can I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
She's gorgeous, Donald. Gorgeous.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further for this witness.
All right, Mr. Cochran.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor.
Good morning, Sergeant Warren. Lerner.
Morning.
Sir, as I understand it, you responded to this 911 call on October 25th, 1993. And what time of evening was that?
It was around 10 o'clock.
And you referred to we in the course of your testimony. Who were you accompanied by at that time, if anyone?
My partner, Officer Spencer Marks.
And the two of you were in a two-person car, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And when you got to the location at around 10 o'clock on October 25th, 1993, were all parties outside the Gretna Green residence?
Nicole was in front of the residence. The other two persons present were in the rear of the residence.
Right.
So, in fact, all parties were outside the residence.
They were outside at different locations,
That's
as I
correct.
understand your testimony.
Yes.
Then as you got out, you'd pull up in the front of the residence, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you first encountered Miss Nicole Brown Simpson, and you had a brief conversation with her at that time, is that correct?
That's correct.
You had occasion to observe her, and it's true, is it not, that she had sustained no physical injury that you could see, is that correct?
That's true.
And in the course of your conversation with her, without telling us about that conversation, you ascertained that she had not been struck or hit at any time, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, how long would you say that you spoke with her before you went to talk to Mr. Simpson and Mr. Kalin, sir?
It was a brief conversation, maybe a couple of minutes.
All right. And at the time that you were talking to Miss Nicole Brown Simpson, was your partner, Officer Marks, there also at that time?
Yes, sir.
All right. And after you spoke with her, as I understand the sequence of events, you then went around to this rear house, is that right?
We went through the interior of the front house to the rear house.
Okay. And when you got there, was Mr. Simpson and Mr. Kalin outside of the rear house?
No, sir, they were inside.
All right. Did you go inside or did you have them come outside?
I went inside.
All right. And were you still accompanied by Officer Marks?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it was you and Officer Marks inside the rear house speaking with Mr. Cato Kalin and Mr. O.J. Simpson, is that correct?
That is correct.
At that time you had a conversation with Mr. Simpson, did you?
Yes, sir.
And in that conversation, Mr. Simpson told you... I'd like to finish the question.
Finish the question.
In that conversation, Mr. Simpson told you about the subject matter of the argument. And you can answer that yes or no, can't you? Yes, you can ask that yes or no.
You can answer the question yes or no.
Yes.
And was Cato Kalin present when you had this conversation with O.J. Simpson?
Yes.
And the entire conversation wherein you were talking, you and I presume your partner, Mr. Marks, were talking to Mr. O.J. Simpson, how long did that conversation last?
Several minutes.
Now, at some point, Sergeant Lerner, you or your partner had occasion to record the conversation with Mr. O.J. Simpson?
No.
You did not do that?
No.
Is there another officer named Lally, L-A-L-L-Y?
There's a sergeant named Craig Lally, yes.
And he was a sergeant at that time in West Los Angeles?
Yes, he works West Los Angeles.
Did he respond to that scene at some time that night?
Yes.
And while you were still there?
Correct.
And while you were there, did you see him with a tape recorder taping statements from Nicole Brown Simpson and O.J. Simpson regarding the events that had taken place that evening?
No.
Are you aware, as you sit here today, that there is a tape recording of the individuals from that particular night?
Objection.
I'm asking if he's aware.
Or you can ask the question.
Yes.
And is there such a tape recording?
Yes.
And you've heard that tape recording?
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about that. We won't go into the tape recording right now, but
Before we do that, how many questions?
Yes, with the court order. All right, thank you, counsel. Mr. Cochran.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Sergeant Lerner, did you, when you listened to the tape, is there more than one tape?
Not to my knowledge.
You heard one tape when you listened to it, is that correct?
That's correct.
When was that you last listened to the tape?
It was yesterday, I believe,
And where'd you listen to it?
in the district attorney's office.
And they were present?
Yes, Mr. Darden was present.
Darden played it for you?
Yes.
That was what time yesterday?
Yesterday morning.
Before court started?
Yes.
And when you listened to that tape, you could hear the voices of the parties, could you?
Yes.
And you recognize those voices?
I would be so screwed if I was on stand. They would have to be way more specific than yesterday. Did you listen to that tape yesterday? No. I don't know how to answer that, Judge. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And did you hear Mr. Simpson's voice on the tape?
Yes, I did.
And who was conducting the interview of Mr. Simpson on the tape that you heard?
I was myself and Sergeant Lally.
So you were present when the interview was actually taking place?
Yes, I was.
And with regard, did you hear the voice of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson on the tape?
Yes, I did.
And did you hear any officers' voices on that?
Yes.
Who was present?
I was present. Sergeant Lally was present.
Did you know these conversations were being taped?
No, I did.
In other words, Mr. Marks was taped, Sergeant Lally was taping and didn't tell you either?
That's correct.
So it was surreptitiously taped.
Yes.
So we're clear about surreptitiously, so you and I know what we're talking about.
Well, I'm not sure if Mr. Simpson knew he was being taped or not. I did not know. So with regard to me, it was being surreptitiously taped
Taped by your brother officer.
by my supervisor.
Okay. And at what point did you find out that that the conversation had been surreptitiously taped?
Yesterday.
You didn't know that until yesterday?
Had no idea.
From October 25th, 93?
That is correct, sir.
Now, if you didn't know, you think Mr. Simpson knew?
Sustained.
Yeah, he's right about that, Your Honor, probably. But, I mean, let me ask you another way, Your Honor. Nobody came up to Mr. Simpson and said, you know, we're going to tape you surreptitiously with the tape. You didn't hear him say that, did you?
I don't believe if somebody said we're going to tape him surreptitiously, then it would be a surreptitious
That's
tape.
an oxymoron, isn't it?
I believe it is.
Right. That's the point of the question. So then you heard nobody say that, did you?
No, I didn't hear anybody indicate to Mr. Simpson that he would be surreptitiously taped.
And you didn't hear anybody say to Miss Nicole Brown Simpson, you're going to be surreptitiously taped either, did you?
No, I didn't.
Now, this tape that you listened to yesterday morning in Mr. Chris Darden's office, how long was that tape altogether?
It was approximately 30 minutes.
That includes both of the parties, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it includes your questions and answers.
Yes, it does.
So that I can put this in perspective for the jury, you described for us how you met with Nicole Brown Simpson out front, went through the house, right?
Correct?
Then met with Messrs. Simpson and Cato Kalin in the back house.
Correct.
Was Sergeant Lally your supervisor there at that time?
No, there was approximately 10 minutes difference from our time of arrival to Sergeant Lally's arrival.
So by the time he arrived, let's assume it was about 10 minutes after you arrived there, right?
Okay.
At that point, where were you?
Near the rear house, or in the rear house.
Were you still talking to Mr. Simpson and Mr. Kalin?
Yes.
All right. Did he come back to where you were?
Yes, he did.
And in the order of this tape, there was the surreptitious tape. Who was on the tape first, Mr. Simpson or Mr.
Counsel, I think we're going into the content of the tape at this point, aren't we?
Your Honor,
You're
I was
asking him to interpret the tape, and at this point it's hearsay.
because he was present. But, all right, John, I'll move on. I presume Lally will be here at some point. In the order of events, however, did Sergeant Lally come to the rear house and ask some questions first?
Sergeant Lally approached the rear house. I, at that time, approached Sergeant Lally.
Okay. And then after you approached Sergeant Lally, did you talk to him?
Yes.
And after that, where did Sergeant Lally go?
Stayed with me.
And, okay, the two of you stayed together. And then where did you go?
There were others present.
Okay. Who else was present?
Mr. Simpson was present.
Okay. And Mr. Kalin was present also?
He was in the immediate vicinity.
Okay. And did then you hear Sergeant Lally start to talk to Mr. Simpson at that point?
Yes.
And did you complete a conversation with Mr. Simpson before you went some other place?
Yes.
And when you completed the conversation with Mr. Simpson, how much time had passed?
10 minutes, 10 minutes.
And when you completed this 5 or 10 minutes of conversation in which you spoke and also Sergeant Lally spoke, right?
Yes.
Where
And
did-
also, Mr. Simpson spoke.
And Simpson. All right, yes. Where did you next go at that point, if you recall?
I went back into the interior of the house, the main house.
And did you at that point meet and talk with or have a conversation with Mr. Cole Brown Simpson?
Yes, I did.
And who was present during that conversation?
Sergeant Lally was present, and Cole Brown Simpson was present.
And did you hear them again engage in conversation
Yes, there was a brief engagement.
along with yourself?
Yes.
Now, you described for us that there had been some damage done to some rear double French doors.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And was the subject matter of those doors, did that become part of the conversation that was conducted that evening by you? You can answer that yes or no.
Sustained.
Did you determine or ascertain that these double French doors had been partially broken before anything occurred that evening? Did you find that out?
Sustained.
I'll link it up.
Sustained.
Did you take any pictures of those doors that night?
No.
Did Mr. Simpson make a statement about, it's a subject matter statement, may I complete it?
It's hearsay, though. It's telling us what the content was.
Very well. After you completed the conversation with Mr. Cole Brown Simpson, where you were present and Sergeant Lally was present, where did you next go that day, if anything, that evening?
We returned back to Mr. Simpson's location, which was near the guest house in the rear.
And did you have a further conversation with him?
Yes, sir.
And that was, again, you and Sergeant Lally?
Yes,
All right.
sir. Correct.
And how long did that conversation, this second or third conversation with Simpson take?
Another probably 5 to 10 minutes.
Now, you had indicated that at some point when you first saw Mr. Simpson, he appeared to you to be upset and agitated. As you talked to him and he talked about the events of that night, did his demeanor change, become less agitated?
Yeah, I would say it did.
And would you say that's reflected in the way he responded to your questions during the various conversations?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yes. With regard to the change in his demeanor from being agitated to being more calm, would you say that was reflected in the way the two of you talked during these various conversations you had with him?
I would say it had a calming effect on Mr. Simpson, yes.
Right. So that by the time you concluded your conversations, you and Sergeant Lally, he was in a calmer state than he had been in earlier, is that right?
There was a point during the conversation where he again became agitated.
All right. And then you had a calming effect?
Yes.
And then he became calm at some point again, is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
And there were no arrests made that night, is that correct?
That is correct.
And with regard to this entire incident, if we assume that you arrived somewhere around 10 o'clock p.m., Sergeant Lerner, what time did you finally leave the scene that particular night?
On our computer screen, when we leave the scene, I put us on a follow-up.
Yes.
And it was approximately 23:28. That would be 11:28.
All right, so you were out there about an hour and a half altogether?
Pretty close.
And with the exception of maybe the first 10 minutes, it was you, your supervisor at that time, Sergeant Lally, and your partner at that time, Spencer Marks.
That's correct.
Right. Did you also talk to Cato Kalin?
Not really.
When you listened to this tape, this audio tape in Mr. Chris Darden's office yesterday morning, did you ever hear Chris Darden strike that? Did you ever hear Cato Kalin's voice?
No, I didn't.
Hope you didn't hear Chris Darden's voice now.
No.
Very well, I have nothing further of this witness at this point, Justice.
All right, Mr. Darden?
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Lerner, you were at Nicole Brown's house for an hour and a half?
Second form of counsel's theatrics, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Sustained.
I didn't know that. You were there an hour and a half?
We arrived at 7 minutes after 10. We departed at 28 minutes after 11.
Did you have other calls that you had to respond to or were supposed to respond to during that time?
We were on a high priority call. This particular call was considered a high priority call, and so we were off the air.
So you had no other responsibilities or duties during that 1.5 hour period, that is, except to deal with the situation involving Mr. Fendad and Nicole Brown?
That is correct.
Did you stay at the location any longer than you felt necessary?
No, sir.
So you felt that you needed to be there an hour and a half?
Correct.
Why?
We had a duty to ensure that our investigation was complete, that there was no possibility or limited possibility of any further incident that evening, and we were required to complete a crime report at the location.
You indicated, or rather you told my good friend Mr. Cochran that the defendant was upset when you first met him.
Yes, I did.
And you say that he then became calm. Is that right?
He calmed.
And I believe you told Mr. Carpenter that you had a calming effect on him. Is that right?
That's correct.
Nicole Brown didn't have a calming effect on him.
Object to the form of that question. Cost of speculation, object to the form of that question.
Sustain.
Was you the only person that had a calming effect on him?
Object to the form of that question.
Overruled.
People there.
Overruled. You can answer that question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I believe my partner also had a calming effect, as well as Sergeant Lally.
Well, both you and your partner were police officers, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were in uniform.
Yes, sir.
Is that what calmed the fact that you were a police officer?
No.
Sustain. Answer stricken.
But he was upset when you first saw him, and then at some point...
Ask and answer, Your Honor.
Overruled.
But then at some point you became calm, correct?
He did become calm, not directly because of the uniform.
What calmed him?
I imagine,
Speculation.
Sustain.
Did you make an effort to calm the defendant?
yes, I did.
But he became angry and upset again, is that correct?
Yes, he did.
And did you calm him again?
Attempted to.
Were you able to?
I thought I was fairly successful in that the incident did not escalate after my arrival.
Well, what do you mean when you say that the incident did not escalate?
Up until the time of my arrival, there had been no physical contact between Mr. Simpson and Nicole Brown. And the entire period that my partner and myself and Sergeant Lally were present, it didn't escalate into a physical confrontation between the two parties.
How many officers arrived at Nicole Brown's house that evening?
I believe there were a total of 5.
And did all 5 of those officers remain at that house for 1.5 hours?
For the most part of it, yes. There were 2 officers arrived after my arrival and departed about the same time,
You were working the PM shift?
mid-PMs.
How many patrol officers that routinely work the PM shift?
Overruled.
Mid-PMs has 1 basic car and usually an X car, usually 4 officers.
So all the officers on the shift, or rather all the patrol officers on the shift were at Nicole Brown's house for 1.5 hours?
There was 1 mid-PM watch unit, which is myself, and 1 unit from the early PM watch, which normal end of watch hours is 11:30.
So half the watch then was at Nicole Brown's house, Sergeant Lerner?
Yes, sir.
You're right. I object. It's cumulative.
Overruled.
And about the tape you just mentioned, you didn't tape the conversations, is that correct?
No, I didn't take the
You
conversation.
don't have the tape, do you?
No, I don't.
You didn't know the conversations were even being taped?
Had no idea.
You're not really the person to ask about that tape, were you?
Well, just one, you can't ask him that. I object.
That's argumentative. That's argumentative.
I'm
Sustained.
sorry, I apologize, Your Honor. I apologize, counsel. I had nothing further.
All right.
Just a couple of questions, Your Honor.
Couple.
A few more questions, Sergeant Lerner. As I understand it, there were no criminal charges filed regarding this incident, right?
That's incorrect.
There were criminal charges filed?
Yes. Well, I don't know if they were filed. I completed a crime report regarding trespass and
But
vandalism.
you never had to go to court on this case, right?
I never went to court on it.
You never had to testify or anything?
No, sir.
As far as you know, Mr. Simpson never went to court on this case, right?
As far as I know.
All right. Now, with regard to that, this time you spent there, when you, Mr. Simpson, had left the scene before you actually left, right?
That's correct.
All right. And you and your partner stayed there for a period after that, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were talking about escalation. After you left, maybe around 11:30 that evening, you received no further calls or did not have to respond to the Gretna Green residents that evening. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you had done your job with
I
regard
felt
to
so.
ameliorating the situation and making it better. Is that right?
Apparently so.
All right. Thank you very kindly, sir.
Question, Your Honor. You say you completed a vandalism and trespass report.
Yes.
Is there a special box that you check on a crime report in situations like these?
Yes.
What does that box say?
That's a domestic violence involved box.
Domestic violence?
That's correct.
You checked that box?
Yes, I did.
On the crime report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything on that?
Nothing on that, Your Honor, and you may be excused.
All right. Sergeant, I'm going to excuse you from further attendance today. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else until the trial is completed, except with the lawyers on the case. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Darden?
One moment to check and see if the next witness.
Please.
And that's where we're going to leave it today. Thank you so much for coming out, guys. I really, really, really appreciate it. I shall see you all next time when the next witness comes up. Is it the blonde dude? I mean, blonde girl? Yeah, look at that hair. That's gorgeous. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Be good. Behave. I don't want to see you in court, but if I do, I'm going to record it. Yes, yes. Take care, A.